There we go. Okay. All right. Let's.
Okay. Welcome to the Resilience and Self Care session as we work together in cultivating vision and hope for sustainability in movement. I am Duma Traore, the program assistant with C2, joined by Juana Tello, C2's program manager, and Raima Callaway, C2's program and alumni coordinator. For our goals during the session, we want to provide tools for reflection on individual purpose within a movement context, allow participants the opportunity for self reflection and self awareness of regular resilience practices, and challenge the unhealthy habits within movement and leadership spaces. For our agenda today, we will begin with grounding in our why. Next, we will be working through the self care worksheet. And lastly, we will be talking about cultivating balance, sustainability, and creativity.
We'd like to ask you to ground in your why before we start. Each of us are in this work because we value justice and liberation, and because we've experienced a series of events that gave us more clarity about our roles, strengths, and contributions to movement. As community leaders, we understand the critical role of grassroots organizing for our self determination, and we operate with a sense of purpose, responsibility, and even urgency. We recognize that in order for our movements to experience those full circle moments where we allow ourselves to implement lessons from our practice over time, we must cultivate the conditions for individuals and collective sustainability. This also means challenging the burnout culture that often fuels a piece of our workload. We'd like to offer a few tools for self reflection with the hopes that it can be helpful in your journey as an organizer or movement supporter, and so that we can better recognize the symptoms of burnout. These questions can also be used to guide and shape both collective and organizational practices that serve our mission towards sustainable leadership. Before we dive into self reflection about our regular weekly practices of resilience and sustainability, we want to be grounded in our why. And this can be considered our North Star personally as a guiding reminder for our larger purpose. And so these questions will be there'll be an opportunity for you to write and reflect on them. We'd like to ask you what brought you into this work and what keeps you in this work. We'd like to know and for you to think about the type of impact that you hope to have. Why do you do what you do? Where do you find most joy in this movement? How does it show up in your body? And how do you know when you're feeling that joy and connection? And how do you support yourself or seek the support so that you may show up fully in this movement? So I'd like to review these questions are mostly geared towards sharpening our. Sorry, I'm gonna pause real quick. We'll edit this part out. Hopefully, I'll pick back up. These questions are geared towards sharpening, putting our. Sorry, I see an edited typo. One more time. These questions are geared towards sharpening our individual purpose within the collective and shapes our internal compass that guides our daily and long term roles and impact. All of these questions get us towards better clarity on our purpose and movement. So I'll share my reflection as a sample before we ask you to pause this video and allow yourself the time to do your own grounding and reflection. What brought me to this work is my personal experiences with depression, the many different issues and conditions, and a lot of the navigation of these systems for survival that I experienced myself and my family and what I witnessed in community. I was also seeking connection and community to break that isolation, to connect with other people who care and share with my values for justice. And what also brought me to this work is also the very real rage, frustration, and anger with both my own condition and the suffering of those around me. And ultimately, what brought me here is wanting to create a change and wanting to learn and explore how to play my position and my role. What keeps me in this work ultimately over time is the reflection and the deep commitment in the love for my people and the people, oppressed people around the world, honoring Indigenous resilience and honoring the legacy of Indigenous struggle, the inspiration that I'm able to gather from elders and ancestors, the lessons, the case studies, the movements across the world over time that have got us to this moment, the young people and the mentees that I have who look to me for support and guidance and more opportunities to expose and learn and grow, and ultimately my commitment to the next 7 generations of organizers, movement builders, and freedom fighters. Where do I find most joy in this work? I find that mostly in ceremony and cultural work, the work that's rooted in justice, but finding a space and paving that for community to be in ceremony together. The creative outlets for justice, using my many talents and gifts and passion that I often don't get to center, finding the ways for me to bring those into practice and bring those into the forefront. The very many deep people to people connections that is very core to our work in organizing, the ability to have comrades locally and nationally who are moving amazing work, amazing demands, and doing the people power building. And I really find joy in taking collective action in the streets, being able to take up space, being loud, unified in a demand. There's so much power in those moments that I usually draw a lot of inspiration and energy from. For me, what it looks like to fully show up in this movement is I feel that I live in and exist in the intersections of many things, some of them being the intersection of prayer and protest, being able to be on the front lines in prayer, whatever that looks like through Indigenous means, protecting land and life, protecting sacred sites, those moments where I can feel fully myself, both in my ceremony as an act of resistance, the intersection of hippie and hyphy as someone from the Bay Area, someone who very much has pride for my hometown, but also has uplifts the legacy of resistance and resilience. The a lot of the solidarity work here in the Bay Area that really has shaped my way of being and thinking, and ultimately also the experience as an urban indigenous person, somebody in the diaspora who lives in an inner city but holds roots in indigenous tradition and culture in Mexico. And how do I fully support? How do I seek the support to stay in movement and show up fully? I look to my peers and my colleagues for support, time to time, issue to issue, being in connection with others, and seeking the mentorship necessary to be able to stay clear and connected. So my hope is that this example of my own personal grounding in why allows you to better understand what we're asking of you. We'd like to ask you to take 10 minutes to fill out this worksheet as a way to reflect on your why. You can journal, you can take out a writing utensil, you can do what you need to be able to just reflect and give yourself the full 10 minutes to really center in your why.
Thank you for filling out this worksheet. We believe in grounding regularly. And let me start that over. Thank you for filling out this worksheet. We believe in grounding and grounding regularly. Now that we've grounded in our why, it's important to think through the ways we fuel ourselves and stay in this work. We honor the many ways. Okay, I think I need to start over. Okay, now that we've
Yeah,
grounded in our why,
start. Yeah, go. But you have to go back one slide, and you start from the full slide. Turn off your camera and start from that. Actually, be easier to do.
thank you for filling out this worksheet. We believe in grounding and grounding regularly. Now that we've grounded in our why, it's important to think through the ways we fuel ourselves to stay in this work. We honor the many challenges and contradictions in our practice at times that make it difficult to stay in our commitments of resilience and balance. As organizers and people within movement, burnout is a state that we are continuously confronted with. What practices are you what practices are you implementing to prevent burnout or to recover from burnout? In this segment, we will be thinking of ways to support ourselves on a day-to-day basis through practices that center the physical, emotional, spiritual, professional, and social. In the self-care worksheet on the next slide, keep in mind the following questions as you think through practices that will help you hold better boundaries with yourself and the people around you. What are you doing to support your overall well-being on a day-to-day basis? do you engage in self-care practices now? Are you more active in some areas of self-care than others?
Here are some examples for practice and that you can implement. Oh. Here are some examples for practices you can implement. Take 10 minutes to pause and fill out the next two slides to help determine which areas that you need. Oh shit, sorry y'all. Here are some examples. Here are some examples for practices you can implement in areas of physical. Current practices you can try is prioritizing sleep, which means sleeping at least 8 hours minimum, exercising regularly, go for a walk, take the stairs, develop a fun exercise routine such as step aerobics, take breaks, take screen breaks, stand up, stretch, get fresh air, dance break. For me, it would be a twerk break. Eat a healthy meal, stay hydrated, make a smoothie, eat a great salad, or just have a snack that makes you feel good next to you. As far as emotional, practice self-awareness, pause, take a time for deep breaths, journal about how you're feeling throughout the day, set boundaries, be honest about your capacity, be clear, and tell folks no. Make Sorry, y'all. Give me 1 second. My apologies, y'all. I'm sorry, y'all. Let me start over. Here are examples for practices you can implement. For physical, you could prioritize your sleep. That means getting 8 hours of sleep minimally. Exercise regularly. Make sure you make time to go for a walk. If you work in the building office, take the stairs. Or develop a fun exercise routine like step aerobics. Take breaks regularly from the screen. Stand up, stretch, get some fresh air, have a dance break. For me, it would be a twerk break. Eat a healthy meal, stay hydrated, make smoothies, eat a salad, or just keep a good snack next to you that makes you feel good. For emotional, you want to practice self awareness. So that means pausing, taking a deep breath, journaling about how you're feeling throughout the day. Set boundaries, but most important, be honest about your capacity. Be clear and tell folks no. Prioritize joy based practices. So that means doing things that make you happy, but most importantly, giving yourself grace on bad days. Ask for support. So seek support from a therapist to help you navigate some of the stressful situations you're going through work. As far as spiritual, we want to make sure you practice mindfulness. So dedicate time to be still and breathe. Reflect on your why and practice in positive self talk. Remember who you are and why you're in the work, but also praise yourself. Love on yourself, please. Spend time in the nature.
If that means taking your call from the beach or by the lake, or even walking a straight trail when you have a moment. And then also tap into some of your spiritual beliefs. Take time to pray. If you have coworkers within your organization that believe in the same, that have the same spiritual beliefs as you, create a prayer work call or a Zoom call where you all can tap in and check on each other spiritually. For professional, you want to make sure you engage in some time management, creating a schedule, utilizing time management systems like Rike, Asana, celebrate the small wins, set clear and achievable goals, and celebrate them when you reach them. Organize your work tribe, find your work tribe. It's important to build a bond with comrades that share the same interests as you. I know for us at Org C2, we had a group every Friday that met and talked about insecure. Organize yourself, pencil out everything. Make sure you schedule out all of the things you want in your schedule. And then social, find a mentor, which could be seeking a professional guidance from experienced professional. Delegate and collaborate. Ask coworkers for support. Work collectively on a project. You don't have to hold it all. I know as organizers, we feel like the work won't get done if we're not leading it. And most importantly, we need to share the load to delegate folks so we don't feel like we're holding it by ourselves. And then also create your tribe outside of work. Take time to socialize with loved ones, to maintain a work life balance. So here are some self-care tools and intakes. So when you are thinking about these things, you want to ask yourself these questions. As far as relaxing and staying calm, which activities help you to relax? Is it deep breathing, taking a walk? Which activities make you more agitated or frustrated? Is it yelling or swearing or drinking? These are some helpful tips on ideas for relaxation and staying calm. Downloading an app that centers around breathing, mindfulness, setting reminders to remind yourself to just pause and set and stretch. Some of the things that can be harmful is overconsumption of unhealthy foods. Sometimes we like to overwork to hide from the responsibility of taking care of ourselves. And then also oversleeping. Some self talk helpful tips is like, am I safe? Can I do this? Some harmful self talks may be, I can't handle this. I knew that this would happen. I deserve this. And some ways to combat that self talk is to create a list of affirmations. I can do this. I got it. You're doing the best that you can. If that doesn't work, you could attend some workshops that an organization is leading that focuses on personal growth and professional growth. Some ways to combat negative self talk is some ways to combat that is doubting yourself, talking bad on yourself, not being present in the current moment, and procrastination. That'd be the one that would get you. As far as social support, which family members, friends can you reach out to help or support? Which people you should avoid during times of stress? So to combat that, you should talk to family and friends to decompress. Seek a therapist or professional support to get through some of that, or practice a collective of gratitude, which means either that is reaching out to your coworkers and letting them know that you're grateful, some gratitude for yourself. What you should not do is dump on a single person. um, be unsupportive in your process of needing support. You shouldn't isolate yourself. We do not heal in a vacuum, and we need folks to get through any situation that we're dealing with, and to avoid issues. We want to get away from avoiding issues and directly solve them. For mood, which activities support positive mood? It could be listening to uplifting music, enjoying the sunshine. What should you do? What should you avoid when times get rough? Staying in bed all day and advocate avoiding social activities. So for me, it's like setting my mood, creating a mood around my office, which can include aromatherapy diffusers, creating a fire playlist. I have a playlist for several different moods that I want to be in, and then always having a healthy or my favorite snack by me. What you should not do is to isolate yourself. You shouldn't cope with like substances or even suppress your emotions. I think when we allow our emotions to be suppressed, we bottle them up, and that can be a disaster when we are pulled in a certain way. And for resilience, who or what helps you get through difficult times? What helps you bounce back? Or what or who feeds negativity for you? In that process, you should journal. You should journal to name some of those things, to reflect on issues that came up a long time ago that's still surfacing, to help you process some of those questions. You have to create a space for you to rest and to be still, because we're in constant movement, we don't always have the opportunity to just reflect and just pay attention to how we're showing up to embody some of these practices. And what we don't want to do is we don't want to avoid the challenges. We want to make sure that when things arise, we address them in the ways that feel comfortable for us. And we definitely don't want to hide behind the work, because that can add on to our burnout.
Amy, not sure if you wanted to just real quickly, just for transition purposes, name, now you can fill it out. Here's what it looks like.
Sorry, y'all.
It's all good. I did the same thing. I think it's like the little transitions.
Okay. So we want you all to take 10 minutes to fill
So
out this resilience
I would
guide.
just sorry to interrupt. I would just actually start from the previous slide, full screen, and then switch to the next slide, and then you can do your talk about
Transition.
that.
I
So
would
yeah.
just
So go
thank
ahead.
you.
Sorry.
No, I'm sorry to cut you off. It's lagging a little bit. Amy, if you just want to say, take as much time as you need. They don't need like 10 minutes. They could do this because this one takes a while.
Okay.
But like take the time you need. You can start it, brainstorm, and then maybe come back and develop it, you know?
Okay.
And just real quick before you get started, then after this is a closing, right? So I coming back and I'm just like, thank you for filling this
No,
out.
I think after this is the cultivating balance and states.
Oh, got you. Okay, so
What Yuma has a part around self-care, right? Yuma? That
Yeah,
we
so I
just
did that section, but since you just went through this, I can take on the portion that's slowing down and taking breaks, so that you have a break before you go into cultivating balance. Does that sound
Okay.
good?
Yeah, that sounds great. Okay.
So yeah, you can start here on the full slide, and then I think you're going to switch over to that other slide where they fill out. This is
Okay.
for editing purposes. It makes it a lot easier.
Okay. All right. So now that we walked through some of the self-care tools and intake, we want you all to take a couple of minutes.
Actually, no. Sorry. I want to start with your camera off on the previous slide because that's how you ended it, and then you right.
Okay.
So
We're
perfect. So
starting
you can start
here.
there. You start here. Give yourself a silent 3 count. 3, 2, 1. Switch over to the next slide, and then you can start talking about the next slide.
Okay.
No,
I don't
sorry.
get it.
So with the camera, unless you want the camera on, I'm just trying for
Okay, turn
editing
it off.
consistency. Because what when you remember you finished this section, and you had the double box. You had your video on, and you also had the slide on, and then you turned off your camera, and it went to full screen, and then you
Okay.
switched to the next slide. So for editing sake, for consistency, it looks better when we stick on the full slide. If you want to switch to the next slide and then go back to on your camera, that's fine. It's just we're trying to edit for continuity, and so there aren't
Okay.
any jump cuts. It doesn't look like where there are any mistakes. If that makes
Okay.
sense.
So then Yuma, you would count to three and then switch it.
Yes. So just to be clear, when I switch to the next slide, that's when Raima turns on her camera.
Yes, if she wants to. If she wants to. That's
Okay.
fine. But yeah, I just wanted to start on the full slide because it's it's consistent. When we try to edit this together, it will come across as a jump cut, and for many people, that will look like a glitch or a mistake.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Now that we've gone through some self care tips, we want you all to take some time to fill out your current practices and work through some things that you would like to try. And it's okay to take some time to just jot it down and then come back to it because we know that this is a longer thought process for you.
While keeping in mind our resilience practices as a way to combat or recover from burnout, it is important to listen to your body and take in when it's time to slow down or take a break. Often within movement, it is easy to constantly be on go as we get into rapid response mode and apply pressure to ourselves to always be on go. However, we cannot fully show up for our people without showing up for ourselves and taking time to slow down and take breaks. Here, we have a few questions to ask ourselves and take into account when our body is telling us to take a break. What feels most comfortable in the process of slowing down? Sorry, I'm gonna take a pause. What feels most uncomfortable in the process of slowing down? Who are the people that will support and hold you accountable to your breaks? What could be possible for you and your wellness when you create space for regular practices and or regular breaks?
Oh, shit. Sorry. As organizers, our guiding force is fighting and organizing for an equitable world. We at times overcommit ourselves to actions, protests, and to strategy sessions because our main focus is how to get free. We submerge ourselves in the work, and as a result, we sacrifice pieces of ourselves that are necessary to keep us whole, like our family, our friends, but most importantly, ourselves. Not realizing that in order to sustain the momentum and a strong movement, organizers must prioritize self too, because we cannot break before our chains do. Within the fight, it is important for us to center balance, sustainability, and creativity. By nurturing our inner child, finding a balance between personal and movement commitments, and tapping into our creativity. Here we have a couple of questions we want you to ask yourselves. How do you show up for your inner child, their needs and their hopes? And some tips is to reflect on childhood dreams and desires. Maybe you explore activities that you've always wanted to do as a child, but never really had the opportunity to. Make time for fun, and then also address some of the unsolved childhood traumas through therapy or positive self talk. How do you balance your priorities organizationally and personally? You can do that by prioritizing organization, no, and personal commitments. Having a strong time blocking technique, such as scheduling everything out, put penciling in time for rest when it's time to eat, work, and most importantly, joy, and delegating tasks. Another way is by practicing saying no and setting boundaries. Who supports your process of seeking balance? Who holds you accountable? Or who do you check in with? And some of the ways you could address that question is to create a network of again, accountability partners to check in regularly with. You could also find a mentor or somebody within the organization who could offer insight and constructive feedback. Set up time for mutual support within your movement family as well as your personal loved ones. How do you address your needs outside of movement spaces? How and where do your needs have independence outside of the roles in organization? Some ways you can do that is to create a self care routine. Designate some alone time for yourself so you can identify what your needs are. Again, prioritize physical health, but most importantly, engage in artistic activities such as writing, painting, dancing, things that allow you to express yourself outside of your movement commitments. What spaces are more conducive to slowing down? Ideally, what does it look like, feel like, sound like? How can you protect time for these spaces regularly? And how you do that is to identify places and spaces that make you feel at ease. Think about your elements, textures, sounds that make you feel calm. If it's listening to some rain sounds, wrapping up in a warm blanket, fuzzy blanket, wearing some new socks, whatever makes you feel good, making sure that you have that at your beck and call. Creating small moments to slow down in your daily life. So giving yourself permission to take a break and really take a break and just do nothing if that means something. But then, most importantly, make this a commitment to a lifestyle change, something that you can embody and practice every day.
We hope that these tools are useful to reflect on your personal practices of resilience, wellness, and self care. We recognize that addressing burnout requires multiple approaches and resources for interventions that are equitably available to all people in our society and also, most importantly, in our movements. We don't by any means want to downplay the systemic structures of capitalism at the root of the problem, but our sincere hope is that we can better recognize our personal practices and our agency to shift our ways of being. Stemming from the individual level to our organizational spaces, we hope to spark more conversation and vision for how we evolve and shift the culture within our movements. C2 is a training hub with resources available both online and in person. Please check out our websites to learn more about upcoming trainings across the country. And we encourage you to check out other pre recorded sessions for the Living Liberation Conference with a variety of other important offerings. For more information, please connect with us so that we can train and connect with you. Thank you so much for your time.